Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to my water Amajiki deck profile. This is a deck that I've been building since the beginning of set 6 because I like one card a whole lot, specifically in Amajiki. I specifically put on a compilation of sea shanties. It's probably really disorienting, but I think it's funny, so deal with it. Anyway, so you guys have probably seen the Amajikis play it on the Chaos symbol. You've probably seen them play on the Chaos symbol, and you've probably seen them played on the Chaos symbol, which I think is really cool. Chaos symbol, very based, and by based I mean not based. Water is based, and movie pill. That's what he does. You should read him. I don't know, pause the video. I'm not going to talk about him because I assume that you know what he does. The card that I do want to talk about is My Heart Is Set. This is a card that isn't seeing a lot of play. Of all the cards in Jiro 2's list, oh my god, this is so funny. I cannot with the sea shanties. Compilations of sea shanty, no vocals. Instrumentals, there we go. All right, sick. This is so nice. Anyway, all right, of all the cards in of all the cards in Jiro 2's kit, right? The rock out cards. This is the one that you don't see in many lists, but in Amajiki, it's crazy, man. You can defend for so long just off of having one or two of My Heart Is Set in your momentum. So I really like this, along with it having a 1-bit block, blocking something, you know, and then manifesting it in. It's so disheartening for the opponent to see. On the other hand, the rest of the attacks do like some really cool things. I think this water Amajiki list with set 6's access to a bunch of card draw that isn't tied to the range symbol is just really cool. We draw so many cards, and I'm such a fan. I'm just such a fan. So let's get right into it, starting with the non-attack, non-foundations. Manifest is just a really strong card in Amajiki. It advances our sort of inevitable game state where we get to shove cards in face up, and you'll notice that I'm not playing any of the Amajiki cards that go in face up by themselves. I'm usually just shoving one in by itself per turn and then using manifest to get another one on defense. But this card, along with struggling with studies defensively, is just really nuts. You gotta shove something in, pick up manifest, block another, and shove it in, pick up with struggling with studies. It's just really cool. Jiro's base, I really like this card. It's just really neat because we're able to make things very fast before giving it a lot of damage, and then we can put even more damage with Amajiki. Pro hero rankings, I really like. I'll talk about it when I get to Zero Gravity Rush, but it's a very cool card on offense, and then also being able to, we do end up going late game a lot, so being able to say, hey, I didn't cycle 9 attacks, I only cycled 4 this time, you know, it's pretty cool. Falling Skies is just, it's a throw, man. I don't know. This card's crazy. I'm not playing a whole ton of high attacks if you look at the list, but we don't need to because it's just, sometimes we just want to play one attack, and it's a card that wears Amajiki's damage buff very well because it's a throw. And as a 4 difficulty throw with a 1 low block, like that's crazy. This is such a nuts card. Tasty Riff? Man, let me talk to you about Tasty Riff in this deck, all right? Most of the time when you're playing Tasty Riff, it's just to like tutor up some things. And it is true, you can build in some really cool foundations and assets, and even picking up manifest is really cool. But this card with Prone to Dry Eyes, if you're deep into a string where your opponent doesn't want to block anymore or can't block anymore, can be devastating. I had a situation once where I had 2 Prone to Dry Eyes, and I played 3 Tasty Riffs before going in with a double trouble or something like that. And my cards had like +9 damage because I was drawing 3 cards and then immediately chucking them into the Prone to Dry Eyes. And so this is a very quote-unquote offensive card, and it helps us. It shows all the card draw that we have available to us on the symbol now. It's one of those things. I just talked about My Heart Set already, but let me look at it a little bit. It's one of the few cards, actually, it's the only card that goes in face up by itself if it hits, and nobody wants to block a 4-low-3. I don't know why, but they just don't want to block a 4-low-3, so they don't end up doing it until game 2 when they realize what I'm doing with the deck. So oftentimes I'll be able to attack with a card and then with a My Heart Is Set, and I'll get 2 momentum face up by shoving the first one in with Amajiki, and then the My Heart Is Set is going in by itself. And I think that is sick. It's very neat. It's a great poke by itself just because it's the best and only momentum flip enhance in the deck. And a lot of times it makes it so you cannot be killed by just a big fast move, right? They have to kill you with a huge wide string, and water is incredibly good at dealing with those strings by itself too. You can unflip them after using them. It's sick. It's awesome. Anyway, all right. Double Trouble. This card, neat. Very, very neat. I've been talking about this interaction with finger guns for a while, and these next two cards, Viral Cosmos and Double Trouble, so much fun with finger guns. Here it is, finger guns. Okay, so finger gun says twice response, whatever, that doesn't matter. Response commit after you play an attack, add it to your hand. So with Double Trouble, we can use some of this momentum that we've been garnering over the course of the game. After we echo, we technically have to play the card as our next form, right? And so you play it and then respond finger guns, put it back in your hand. And now you have a fresh copy of Double Trouble that hasn't been echoed. So you get to attack with it a third time, which is really strong. We were doing this in our All for One deck that our guy Michael was playing in some of the regionals during set 4, because you could requesting to ready it, and in Deadlock you could use final exam results, I think it is, to ready it again. Like, you could attack with this card 5, 6, 7 times in Deadlock, which was really, really nuts in that deck because All for One puts so much damage down onto things. But Viral Cosmos, along with Finger Guns, is the same thing. You play it, you draw a card, you pick it back up, you play it, you draw another card. Your opponent gets to draw 2, but typically when you're doing this, you're trying to get into a huge build turn, which is really important for Amajiki because he really wants a large staging area to support his defense. And this deck truly does want to play a ton of attacks too. So these cards really, really fun with finger guns. I'm not saying it's the best way to go on the water symbol, but I think it's just a lot of fun. I Won't Back Down. It's just a really, really strong card. It draws a card when they block it, and if they don't block it, cool. It becomes a momentum. And even if you don't, it becomes a momentum. 2 low block, got a great Deadlock enhance. Just a big fan. You know, in Deadlock, it becoming like another Double Trouble is chef's kiss. Very, very strong. And getting us a couple counters to put into Jiro's base is really, really neat. And let's talk about the creme de la creme, okay? The tour de force. Zero Gravity Rush is so much fun in Amajiki. We get to give it like 1,000 billion damage with Amajiki. And if you have pro hero rankings, you can draw 2 cards before showing them 7 foundations. You're gonna get 7 more damage. I've sent this thing as a 19 high 19 like more times than I can count, and it's so fun. It's just so much fun. This little big six stiff, sorry. And it drawing 2 cards by itself is just a really, really cool thing. I only played 2 copies because it's got a really bad block modifier, and it's not good early game. We need to have the right setup on our board, but you'll see that our foundations, a lot of them flip specifically for that reason. Let's get right into them. Surprising skill. I think this is important. This card gives the water symbol, answers to sealing and committing, which it didn't have outside of Prone to Dry Eyes for a very long time. So I 4X this card specifically because of that, and it's a 0 div. I mean, 0 divs are just, you need 0 divs. 0 divs, 0 divs, 0 divs, 0 divs, 0 div. And having an answer to target committal or a stun in general is a really big deal for the symbol because it's one of the weaknesses of it. Dance routine, good golly. We have a lot of charges in this deck. A lot of the charges that are 4 damage or less, right? Viral Cosmos, I Won't Back Down, Zero Gravity Rush, technically. My Heart is Set. So these say that we get to draw a card when our charge attack does damage, our little pokes. And also, it works in concert with My Heart is Set so well. You get to set their attack to 4 speed and then give it -1 speed. And it makes it so that even if you're completely tapped out, you can get 1 more block out pretty reliably. And I think that's really, really neat. I think it's just a really, really good card. It's 2-way. It works on offense and on defense. It's just really, really great. I love that. I think it's a staple in a lot of decks on these symbols now. Weightless is a really cool card for playing our huge, deep, aggressive strings. And a lot of times, honestly, what I'll do is I'll have like 2 face down foundations from like a Flustered or something like that on turn 2. And then turn 3, I'll play a Zero Gravity Rush, maybe check a 5, tap one of my face downs. And this readies the face down foundation that I tapped to play Zero Gravity Rush. So it's like I didn't tap anything at all. I checked a 6. I'm so cool. Anyway, yeah, Flustered is really, really cool. Drawing cards, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card. And in this format, without Capture Evildoers, a lot of people are going to be relying on their momentum and feeling a lot more safe. And this card denies momentum, and I think that is going to be very important in the format. So I've definitely blocked with My Heart is Set, and then used Flustered to discard their momentum before manifesting it into my own. And I think that it's a great tech card that should be in a lot of lists in the coming format. This music's so funny. Struggling with Studies I already talked about. It's the best 1 diff in the game. That's it. It's protection for your board from flip, and it's also one of the strongest defensive enhances in the game. Being able to choose a card in your card pool to block with that you blocked with early in the turn, or you got stuffed in it. Really, this is the best one to the game. If you're leaving home without 4 of it on these symbols, you're crazy. Finger guns already talked about. It's awesome. Prono Dryas already kind of talked about it, but yeah, this makes it so that our deep string with all of these 4 difficulty attacks is devastating, and we get to hold off on our Amajiki enhance because we can just wait for the biggest one, and each one's going to be coming for 6, 7, 8 damage. Acrobatic, I like. It's like another copy of Dance Routine, but as a zero div. And defensively, it removing it from the card pool is like another face shield, and I think that's neat. It's just neat. It's neat. Surviving the final, it's like Acrobatic, but not playable committed, and doesn't destroy itself. Yeah, anyway, that's why there's 3 of each of these. Broken Psyche, I mean, you're going to have momentum. You're Amajiki, so yeah, it's good. It's good, yeah. I like Face Shield. I think people should be playing Face Shield. I would put more in the sideboard. Look at my 12-card sideboard. It's just good, you know. Denial for throws, etc. Lost in Thought. So this is a card. I think there's already so many 4 checks in the deck that it's tough to exclude it, but I don't often have problems with my opponent's board state, so I don't play a ton of copies in this deck. This is really like an exhaustive defensive deck, so you don't tend to need to have a lot of point removal, but some is important, and I would probably sideboard more of it if I could. Cheerleader, again, you're gonna have momentum. I like Broken Psyche a little bit more because it allows the opponent to have the enhanced step, allows you to have the enhanced steps. You're not just taking it to the face like Cheerleader often does, but both are kind of occupying a similar slot in that they're denying an attack to our opponent. Irrefutable Force of Nature, it's a lot like Lost in Thought. So this is what I did as I played 1 and 1 of each, because Irrefutable checks the 5. They both remove to do the like important thing, but I like Lost in Thought because it's basically like a flip as opposed to this one that leaves them with the resource. But this one can be very good because it also affects assets. Yeah, but that's my Amajiki deck. I think that you should play it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think the water symbol gets to do a lot of things that aren't tied directly to the ranged keyword, which is really, really cool and sparks a lot of my creative juices. So I hope you guys have a nice day. See you later. Whoop.